the QEH Pulse Radio Show, brought to you with the kind compliments of Med-Safe Medical Supplies Ltd.
For all your medical supply needs, visit Med-Safe Medical Supplies Ltd. We offer a wide range of products including wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches, blood pressure machines, stethoscopes, and so much more. Conveniently located on Gemmett's Lane, just a 2-minute walk from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And for your convenience, we deliver free to the QEH. Open Monday to Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Call us at 624-7542. Med-Safe Medical Supplies Ltd. Your trusted source for medical essentials.
A pleasant good morning to all of our listeners here on Q100.7 FM, and welcome to another edition of the Pulse Radio Show. I'm your host, Shane Seeley. Always a pleasure to have a conversation with you every Monday morning at 11 a.m. We spend an hour with you, just bringing you up to speed on what is happening at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. It's our hospital, the place that you come when you need care and attention, and we want to continue to explain to you how you can do that in what would be the most easy fashion for you. Just navigating the system, we help you to do that and to understand the nuances involved with our hospital, a tertiary healthcare institution. Today we are going to speak about a number of things, and we are going to introduce you to what are some of our newer members of staff. One you would have met recently on an earlier episode. Another one is the first time for him. But we also have back with us this week, for the first time in a while, Dr. Christine Greenidge, our Acting Chief Executive Officer. Her substantive post is COO, but of course she's leading us right now as Neil Clarke, our CEO. He's had a little break. He's had a chance to get some R&R, some rest and relaxation, but Dr. Greenidge is making sure that we keep things on track and that we're getting things done at the QEH as far as the 2025 to 2028 strategy goes. Dr. Greenidge, always a pleasure to have you.
It's great to be back. Hello everyone, good morning.
Yeah, indeed. And we have some good news to share with you, but before we get to that good news, let me welcome our two service improvement managers. And what I'll do, I know you met Dr. Clarke before, but I'll give them an opportunity to introduce themselves and just tell you a bit about what their role is, this new role of service improvement manager. And of course, Dr. Greenidge, you can tell us how that whole concept came about.
Yes, it's really based on service improvement, quality improvement as well. But a big part of the role of service improvement manager is there are actually three of them. The third is Dr. Keisha Gustave, who previously you would have met on this show. But a greater part of the role is them to go through the facility, department by department, and look for opportunities for improvement. Some may be very simple, just a redesign of flow and or just looking at some processes that are not really meeting expectations or just need overhaul. So these are folks that they investigate our current status, our current processes, and then most importantly, they look for crafting implementation strategies that will help to reduce some of the backlog and or bottlenecks in our system. It's a very exciting role. They report to me directly through the quality department, and we look forward. They have really started their roles with a big bang, I will say, working with a consultant that we had for a couple of months and really looking at those things that we can quickly fix, but most importantly, things that we can fix with the desired outcomes.
So they're fixers. They help to fix some of the processes that we may have seen have been a bit on the inefficient side.
Yes.
And bring
Well, I think they go in with fresh eyes, right? They go in neutrally. Sometimes staff, when things are just happening, staff sometimes begin to think these are normal expectations. So the service improvement manager will go in with fresh eyes and look at current state and then plan for improvement for future states.
Okay, so now let's give them a chance to introduce themselves. Go ahead. Ladies first.
So my name is Dr. Ayja Clarke. I'm a physician with nearly 10 years of experience working with patients, and now I'm working at the hospital since June as one of the new service improvement managers. I'm extremely passionate about this work. I really enjoyed interacting with patients when I was seeing them as a doctor, but now I'm on the other side of things where I think I have an opportunity to help persons on a wider scale. The service improvement managers, there are three of us in total, and we're each really passionate about this work. And really, I want to preface everything by saying is that the hospital staff already do really great work, and our aim here is really to support the great work that they do, try to make it easier for them. All of this while trying to maintain and improve the standard of care and the quality of care that we deliver to our patients.
And the other service improvement manager right next to me, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Lorin, Brathwaite. My clinical background is in occupational therapy, but I also come from education as well. I've taught for a while, and as my colleague just said, I am also very passionate about this. It is really exciting to have an opportunity to serve our country, in this way, to help create a better environment for persons to come where they can continue to feel safe and secure and receive the best treatment that we can offer. And I think it is just really exciting and encouraging to see the passion as we go through the institution, because I've also been there since June. So seeing how on board a lot of people are with change and doing the best we can do.
What are some of those early wins that you can say that you've achieved thus far in your role as service improvement manager, helping the staff to accept the change, accept change, which makes the process for our patients a bit more easy?
Well, Shane, accepting change is never easy.
Never.
It's never easy, but
it's the only thing that is constant, but sometimes it can be very difficult to swallow.
Yeah, we don't like it, but still regardless of that, what I've been involved in, the two main things, I've been involved with the lab. So we've been looking at optimizing the process of how doctors order blood tests from the A&E department and they receive those results. So we've been trying to improve the turnaround time, and one of the earliest wins that I've gotten is working with the orderly team. So we've been improving the time that it takes for samples to leave the A&E department to get up to the lab. So now around every 15 minutes samples are going up to the lab to be received. We're also looking at optimizing the return of results, and that is still in process, but we're making positive steps towards that as well.
What about you, Dr. Clarke?
I really like what Mr. Brathwaite said about change being a process. It's actually quite a long process. I think persons sometimes can have this misconception that change happens overnight. It takes time, and sometimes persons can be looking for quick results, but with most things usually it takes time, and it takes time to sustain those positive results that we want to see. One of the earliest things we were working with, I would have mentioned it last time, was the registration process. So when persons arrived to A&E, what previously was happening is that they were being registered manually. So somebody was coming around with a clipboard and taking patients' information. And what we've done, we've started using these kiosks on the outside of the accident emergency department. So when the person comes through the door, they're still seen by security, and security now directs them to these registration kiosks. And basically what it is, it's a monitor, it's a touch screen, and it's very engaging, and it has lots of very simple instructions, and the patient is able to enter that information. Now with any process, we have to we have to kind of look at it and, try to foresee what are the problems that could arise. So we know, for instance, that some persons might find it challenging to navigate the instructions. So we've put up very detailed instructions with actual pictures of what each screen looks like and where you should press and where you should put the information. So we saw that could potentially be a problem. So before we started, we made sure we had very clear instructions for persons. So when you go to that registration kiosk and you look to your right, you will see those very detailed instructions there. The other thing we recognize is that some persons might be quite ill when they come and might not be able to navigate the registration process on their own. So what we've done is we have the security when possible. They're able to help the patients as well register. We also have our patient relations representatives that are also able to help as well. So we're trying to foresee potential problems and do something about them before they even happen.
That's being proactive.
I think if I can relay what Dr. Clarke just said in everyday situations. So if you think about, if you're traveling, when you come in, before you get to immigration, at the airport now they have all these kiosks. You go in, you put your passport, you answer the immigration questions, go right to the immigration officer, and if you compare what's happening now to the past, you had this long paper and he went through it when you went up there, and the time with that immigration officer was much longer. So
Indeed.
It's similar to that in everyday situation, so you can get a picture of exactly what the electronic registration is in the AED.
Perfect. You have some numbers that you can call us if you have any questions about some of these new processes that you will be interfacing with. You can call us at 4341007 or 4341070. You can also send us a WhatsApp, as many of you have been doing, at 4341007. We want to hear from you. We have some good news, which is a bit off of topic, and we mentioned it last week as we continue to give you these updates about the hematology clinic. We have been trying our best to make sure that our patients are covered in that clinic, and now we can tell you that we have the adequate coverage for all patients who are coming to that hematology clinic, which happens 3 days a week. Dr.
Yes.
Greenidge, you have been monitoring this situation very closely.
Absolutely. For the past 2.5 months in our hematology clinic, it has been quite challenging. I'm going to be forthright and be quite honest in terms of when the clinic came to an abrupt and totally unexpected end of service. We really were not prepared for the action, but our goal had to be to make sure that our patients are safe and make sure that we can provide the services that they need. And so as of this past Friday, we have resumed the full operations of our hematology clinic. It's a 3-day-a-week clinic. They meet on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Friday. Wednesdays being really for prescriptions and or any type of renewal of meds, and for checking in with blood work. Our patients, I would say that we really apologize for the length of time it took, but hematology is a clinical specialty that is not very easy to recruit. So right now we have a senior consultant there along with 3 senior house staff officers assisting her as we make sure now that we are up to date, and those patients that we had to reschedule due to some closure during this time are scheduled for the regular ongoing clinical follow-ups and appointments. And once again, if hematology is a service to deal with really blood diseases, lymphomas, leukemias, hemophilias, those type of blood diseases, and so it's a very highly specialized clinical service, and we're pleased to know that the patients who have endured during this time will now have a sense of normalcy in terms of their ongoing clinical care needs.
Yes, and we just wanted to make sure that those patients who come to the clinic understand what is going on. We have been reaching out to them. We know that they have been reaching out to us for answers and guidance, and the Director of Medical Services acting, Mr. John Gill, has been very active in answering their queries and making sure that they are covered. Now we have that specialist here on the ground. They're going to be working with their team to make sure that all of those patients get the necessary treatment and care that they need in the hematology clinic. So that is definitely some good news. So today is a good day. Yes, it's the start of the week. It's the start of new things for hematology.
Absolutely.
And we're sharing with you what's on the horizon as our service improvement managers really get on the ground to make those necessary changes. Dr. Clarke, what would you say is one of that moment that said to you that you think that there can be more positive outcomes when you look at helping us make a transition in several departments? And I know that you've been working closely with the accident and emergency department. What is your take on helping make those changes there on the ground?
I think one of the most important things is the staff. The staff have been so engaging. I know that it is, the work that they do is already very difficult. It's already a very busy area. But they have embraced us coming into their space, taking time to ask them questions, give their feedback. They've listened to, proposed solutions. They've joined in with us developing solutions. And when we roll out the solutions, they're always, there, to give it, an honest try. All right. So I really appreciate that. And just working with the staff and seeing how passionate they are, especially Dr. Cruikshank. She is so passionate about her department. You can really see that. Even in simple things like how we hang up materials. She feels such pride in her department that, whatever we bring to her has to be of a certain level and standard. And I really respect that and appreciate that. What we do in the service improvement department, we do everything in it with a systematic approach. So lots of persons always, there's always quality improvement happening in all departments throughout the hospital every day, but we do it more in a systematic way. We do something called plan, do, study, and act. And that really means that we don't make a change, or we just don't wake up and decide we're going to make a change and we go off and do it and then we leave it and we run away. So first we plan, so that means that we look at what is currently happening in the department. A very detailed overview of what's going on. We engage all of the persons. That means we talk to everybody in that process. So everybody that's involved in the registration process, we talk to them. From the security guard to the clerk, the orderly, the nurses, we talk to them and get their feedback on what the current challenges are and what can be done better. We actually then collect data, because if we're measuring to see what the registration time is and we want to make it better, we need to know what the starting point is. So after that process, we then talk to the staff and we ask them, what would make this better, because we don't want to just, produce a solution that is impossible for them to do. We want it to be something that can actually be implemented on the ground in the accident and emergency department, and we work with them to come up with feasible solutions that can work in their current environment. And then we monitor. So once we implement a change, we don't run away, as I said. We stay with them, we support them, we make sure all of the staff is involved, knows what's happening, we educate them. If they have any questions along the way, we try to assist them. And then as we continue in the process, we make changes along the way. So we don't have to wait to the very end to say we're going to make a change. What we're looking at is continuous improvement. So they might say to me today, yes, we thought this initial solution was going to work, but if we move this chair here or simple things like that, the process could be even better. And tomorrow we make that change. And we monitor then at the end to see, what are the times looking like now? So what's the registration time like now? And we've seen, as we've done that, throughout the registration process, and we've seen, in the end, that the times have come down. And it's not at that point then, that you say you're finished. It's something that has to be continuously monitored, because we want to sustain that change. We know that sometimes we make changes and we can, very easily slip back into what was happening before. But we want to make sure things are sustainable, that they continue for a period of time.
Yes, consistency is key to anything you're doing to make sure that we get it right. For you, Lorin, what has that been in terms of really activating the change, your interaction with staff, the feedback you get from them, how willing they are to really, as Dr. Clarke said, get going with this new movement, this new wave under our new strategy?
I've had the same experience. I found that everyone that we've interacted with, 9 times out of 10 is unusual, right? That somebody that is not in line with that, but 9 times out of 10, everyone is interested in how can we do this better, because we want to improve this thing that we're doing for the persons that we serve, right? And you find that among persons in healthcare that we are really there to benefit our fellow man. I would say that similar to what Dr. Clarke said, is that you see it in how willing people are, all right? And so the other thing is that you also see that persons have ideas, and sometimes they may not even have confidence in their idea, but sitting talking with them, you get, this is something that can work. It may not work just as you're saying it, but we think about it. How can we workshop this? How can we shape this to make it work, right? Because the reality is that when we interact with people and going across the departments, as you heard, Dr. Clarke is a physician, I'm an occupational therapist. I come from mental health, right? But the persons who are doing the work, they're the experts in their fields. So a big part of our skill set is to be able to engage them, to find out what they're seeing, and offering our perspective to see, well, could this be done any way better, right? Or what you're saying, how can we approach this? How can we get this done? So we are a big part of realizing, bringing things to life, bringing changes to life that, we wish that we could do this in a different way. Sometimes the answer is technology, but it's not always that. Sometimes it's simply communication between departments, because what we do, it stretches, is usually not, even though we've started with the accident and emergency, but everything stretches across departments. Like mine stretches from accident and emergency to the lab. Dr. Clarke stretches across several departments with internal medicine, etc. So it's about that, getting people to come to the table to share their perspectives, and also getting them to see from the perspective of the other department, well, when this happens, this causes a challenge for us. But when I do that, this causes a challenge for you. So where can we meet on the middle ground to optimize this process to benefit the people that we're serving?
Indeed. Remember, you can call us 434-1007 or 434-1070. How important are these service improvement managers in their roles to the success of the strategy?
I think extremely important in terms of our overall facility strategy. And as we're now really approaching the last quarter of this year, and we have identified early in the year, CEO Mr. Clarke shared the strategic plan. And with each plan, each pillar, we have expectations of achievement. So we have the last quarter of 2025 to really focus on that. But during this last quarter, I would say one of the biggest things that we look forward to is the full operations of our LINAC. Treatments for our cancer patients. And we're a tad behind, but we can't be unreasonable that in planning, especially something as huge as this, as complex as it has been, involved in working with multiple partners and vendors, that sometimes delays happen, and we have to be reasonable. There are projects that I know have been out there for several years and still have not been completed in different entities. But for us, this is extremely important, because we will be able to treat some of these cancers literally as fast and quickly as we can. Speaking about that, and I will, one word on oncology, our oncology service, up until about 4 or 5 months ago, before the onboarding of Dr. Siri Pathy, who was the head of the Department of Oncology, we were experiencing a lot of delayed referrals, that referral being the first time somebody's being seen and assessed in oncology. And we were as high as 144 wait days. We narrowed that down with her presence in the last 3 months, down to 14. Now I know we are about 26, 27, but that has to do with increasing the volume in that service, oncology. And we are working through it, and subsequently we have more patients now who are being treated with chemotherapy. They have gone beyond capacity in accommodations. So just this last Friday, we met as a team with myself and brainstormed to see how we can accommodate many more patients with chemotherapy. And I think we have a great plan that will assist tremendously in us being able to treat more chemotherapy patients. And again, one thing, sometimes our patients are coming in later stages of the disease, which present a challenge. So prevention and education and regular checkups are so important, especially for men and women. Our number 1 and 2, breast cancer in women, prostate cancer in men. These are preventable in terms of regular checkups, or at least if there's something going on, can be early diagnosed with people regularly seeking those annual exams.
Okay. Well, you're listening to the Pulse radio show, of course, a production of the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. We're talking with our acting chief executive officer and our service improvement managers here today. We'll take a quick break and come back. Of course, the program being brought to you compliments Med-Safe Medical Supplies Ltd.
For all your medical supply needs, visit Med-Safe Medical Supplies Ltd. We offer a wide range of products including wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches, blood pressure machines, stethoscopes, and so much more. Conveniently located on Gemmett's Lane, just a 2-minute walk from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And for your convenience, we deliver free to the QEH. Open Monday to Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Call us at 624-7542. Med-Safe Medical Supplies Ltd. Your trusted source for medical essentials.
Yes, we're back with you here on the Pulse radio show. I'm here with Lorin Brathwaite and Dr. Ayja Clarke. Our service improvement managers. Have to shout out Dr. Keisha Gustav as well, who's back at the plant doing her thing. And also, of course, here with us back on the show again is Dr. Christine Greenidge, our acting chief executive officer. You say these service improvement managers are under your charge, and we've been doing a bit of rejigging in terms of what you are now responsible for. A lot of that has to do with directly patient relations. And people, and listeners out there, please remember those numbers I always share with you, 536-4800, where you can have any of your concerns related to the hospital or your visits. You can have that clarity from the medical professional on the line.
Yes. Not only there's a patient relations department, there's a quality department as well, and then a very active bed management department that are now part of an overall quality umbrella. But the focus is that, and my expectation, Shane, is that every department at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital must identify a performance improvement plan process, right? So department heads, you look at your department at one thing, we ask them for one thing that you know is not meeting expectations or the desirable outcome. And that one thing then is identified for process improvement with crafting corrective action plans to get to that desired outcomes. Dr. Clarke mentioned the PDSA, which is a formal quality way of approaching and being able to identify those problems. Because if we work in a department and we keep getting the same results, we need to stop, reassess, and find out what you need to do to get to that better state. And so the challenge is nursing, for example, the nursing department, they have traditionally always have process improvement. There are nursing sensitive indicators that they always work on. But whether it's housekeeping, whether it's engineering, whether it is the kitchen, there is something in each department that if you have your eyes focused, you will see you can do better with a crafting a performance improvement plan or strategy. So that's the new umbrella on the quality. And for me, as the Chief Operations Officer, for my working with my executive directors and service improvement managers, the whole system then will be under scrutiny, will be under assessment, with the goal being improving our processes. And as that one thing is identified, there's more. We can never settle and think we are where we need to be and then have no awareness of where you need to improve.
You have to have
That's
that
the new
awareness.
model.
Yeah. Because that's the only way that you can highlight
You can highlight.
those weak areas.
You can highlight.
And that's why we're here, because we hear our patients complaining sometimes about those weak areas, and we want to address it friendly. We want to be as transparent as possible, and we want to hear those concerns so that we can adequately respond. And I think that is something that you, Dr. Clarke, and you, Lorin, would really help us to do, address those deficient areas. An area you think that we have really made a good start in terms of a turnaround so far?
So an area, I would say, the estimated date of discharge boards. If if currently you have a relative on one of the wards of the hospital, you might come on the ward and see that there are these boards next to the bedside. And these boards are actually a visual tool. So they have on all the information that's important to getting that patient home on discharge from the hospital. And it really centers around the estimated date of discharge. And just as the word states, it's an estimate, right? So it's the date that the doctor thinks, or they anticipate that if your relative comes in with a condition, this is the date they could potentially go home. And what this really gives is a goalpost for everybody involved in the care. So the doctor, the nurse, the rehab therapist, the social worker, even the relatives, an idea, this is what the date we're working towards. But the understanding that this might change, the patient might get better more quickly and might be able to go home earlier, or they might not get better as quickly as expected and they might have to stay a little longer. And we know that the actual details on the board, that any of those things can affect the potential discharge of that patient. So they're at the bedside, and the aim is for relatives to be able to see this information, for patients to be able to see this information. So I think we're making strides in the engagement, and definitely in from what you're asking. So I think that we're seeing improvements in that area, definitely. The other thing with the estimated date of discharge is that the idea is that it would start to decrease or lead to changes in the average length of stay. So the length that person stay in the hospital for particular conditions across, throughout the world, research has shown that these boards can help to decrease that length of stay. So it's an ongoing project. First, as I said, with the same PDSA cycle, first, we planned, we looked to see what was currently happening. We implemented the estimated date of discharge boards. We're measuring currently. We'll make changes. We'll gather feedback from all of the staff involved in the board. And we'll go back and make more changes until we almost, have it perfect. And then the aim is to sustain that change and eventually roll it out across the rest of the hospital.
I know that Lorin was speaking to me a bit earlier about the importance of data gathering as a tool in his present role as a service improvement manager. Why is now data gathering so key for you and the team in terms of improving our service?
It is critical, Shane, because of the things that we've been saying for the whole morning, is about having that overall view of what is going on in the hospital. And one of the things that I've been attached to and that I've been working with is about getting more real-time statistics, right? So I've been working closely with the hospital's health planner, Mr. Jordan. Shout out to him. Working with him, and we've been looking at how we can get these metrics. You might have heard Dr. Greenidge said earlier, that we have all these performance things that we're looking at. So we have these what we call key performance indicators. We're looking at the stats because we want to figure out how are we doing or what are we doing, right? So we're looking at what's the demand of people flowing into a given department. In our case, we've been focusing on accident and emergency was the demand. How long does it take somebody to flow through? And then just as what Dr. Clarke was saying, looking at the process. Well, what could be the things that is holding this person, what's delaying, and also what can speed it up as well. So getting that data is important because it gives us the bird's eye view. Also, Mr. Clarke, as you know, he's on holiday, but he is very focused on having this thing so that he can look at it and see what's going on at a given point in time. So we have something called the True North dashboard, which is a more real time statistical monitoring tool that was created to give us that picture of, on any given day or over the past 7 days, as opposed to a monthly thing. How is the hospital doing? What's going on? Who's coming in? Who's going out? How are we performing? And understanding that performance, being aware of it, because we can't address a problem unless we have visibility on it, that we can see it.
Visibility is key to addressing the issue. You wanted to add something.
I just want to add that what Dr. Clarke just mentioned in terms of the whiteboards on the units. This happens on day one. So discharge planning begins upon admission. Very important. Day one. And it's a great example of the interdisciplinary process where each department, from their vantage point, are involved in estimated or contributing their role in getting that patient out. It's important that we reduce the length of stay. Is right now we're looking at internal medicine. The majority of our patients are under that service, but until we got the disciplines together. So if I'm a pharmacist, for example, and someone is admitted and they need IV antibiotics, my role as a pharmacist is to say that, by day 3 of these IV antibiotics, we can switch this patient to what we call PO or oral antibiotics, and that's the first step in preparation for discharge, because they can be discharged on the pills. From other social activities of daily livings are assessed by nursing, social work services, to see whether or not an alternative level of care is required while this patient goes home. So coordinated care by disciplines, rounding on patients daily, and just articulating where that patient is in terms of day 3 of the hospital. We're working towards discharge by day 6. Families are aware from day 1. The patient has control in terms of understanding when he or she will be going home, and of course there will be a plan of continuity of care while that person is back home in the community. So whether it's follow-up by in their primary clinics and or polyclinics and or community health is very important. So we do not stand alone. I want to say that very, very clearly. The Queen Elizabeth Hospital, we're not alone. We are connected by our sisters and brothers and entities in healthcare, and so we have to have a great picture of what resources are out there for our patients.
Indeed. And speaking about picture, we will be having a ceremony later today, and we're going to get some new equipment as well. You'll hear more about that in our traditional media with some of our traditional media partners. They'll be sharing that story. But these little tokens, these donations do add to what we can do at the hospital. I remember speaking to our ophthalmology lead, and we recently got another piece of equipment there which will help to really save eyesight in many cases for persons who have keratoconus. So these are just snapshots of everything happening. We will be sharing them with you not only here on radio, but in what we're going to call something QEH highlights, where we share some of those great stories from around the hospital with you, so you can just get a better understanding of all the work that is going into the new strategy and making the QEH what it is today. I must say, Dr. Clarke came with a long list of notes. And as we're trying to we're supposed to be moving away from paper and being a bit more
electronic, digital
savvy and environmentally friendly as well.
Yes.
So on this long list of things that you have there in front of you, Dr. Clarke, what are some of those key messages that you want to get out to the public about what you are doing to help the hospital be a better and a bit more friendly place for them? You mentioned the estimated date of discharge. That really connects. And you did a pilot project. Maybe you can talk a bit about the results of that.
So, coming back to the PDSS cycle again, first, when you're making any change, you always want to start on a small scale first. You want to start on a small scale and you want to work with the kinks. What are the potential issues that can come up? And you want to try to come up with solutions for those things. So the first thing we did with the EDD board, the estimated date of discharge project, was we first did a pilot, and we did it on a couple wards in the hospital, and we did it on different wards with different types of patients. So female wards, male wards, medicine patients, and surgical patients. And also we included, persons, with stroke patients. They have a different subset of challenges and a different specialty of specialized level of care. So first we did a pilot with those wards, and we looked to see how things went. What was the engagement like? How much were the boards being used? What did the patients and the relatives know about the boards? And we used all of that feedback to drive changes for the second phase of the pilot. So now at this stage we've gone back and we're doing an extended phase 2 of the pilot, where we're now doing boards on a full unit. So we're doing it fully on C5 and fully on C6 at the hospital. And the aim is really to see, how does it work with one unit having a complete cohort of boards? How much work is it for the staff? What do the patients understand about it? How much work is it for the physicians? Because the aim is eventually to roll it out across the entire hospital, but we really want to get an understanding of, how is that going to work? And we want to make sure we have strategies to make sure that when we roll it out across the rest of the hospital, it's going to work properly and it's going to do what we want it to do. So we really, one of the key indicators we're looking at for the expected date of discharge boards, we're looking at the average length of stay. So we know what the average length of stay was before we did the pilot, and we have an idea of what it is now, and we're going to continue to monitor that going forward to see what the changes are.
Those EDD boards, as we like to call them, estimated DD boards, you may see them if you go on our wards very shortly, because after you finish the pilot, the plan is to make this a permanent feature of our services at the hospital. Yeah,
definitely. So the aim is to roll it out to the rest of the wards, and I think a really important part of the boards, even apart from the average length of stay and the reduction, and that's how it can assist the bed management team, is really the engagement portion of it. I think that might be one of my favorite things about it, that patients can get an eye on important information to them. So simple things like when next time you're going to have blood taken, and we take those things for granted, and we might think that you're in the hospital, you expect these things are going to happen, but there can be a high level of anxiety surrounding these things for patients. So just giving them, let them plan in their mind that I'm going to have blood done, in 2 days or in the future, they can know, that they can settle. Also too with the relatives, let the relatives know this information, so the relative will know, that my grandmother might go home on X date. I need to have an off day on that date so I can collect her and get her off of the ward. So simple things like that. And we can see sometimes when persons don't know all of the information surrounding, their relatives' care, that, we might decide we're ready to send home the patient, but as I said, there's no off day, so they have to wait till the end of the visitation to go, and they leave the hospital a bit later.
Right. I just want to say one thing that I encounter repeatedly, and it really is quite concerning for me. I often will personally respond to any complaints that I get from folks in the community. I after investigation, I will call them and put them at ease. But what I find, though, that patients and families tend to do, which really complicate any type of investigation, they will say, the doctor said. And my first response is, who is the doctor? So I want to educate the public. When you're speaking to someone, your role is to ask, what is your name? We all have an ID, but sometimes they're flipped. Right now we're working on improving, so you can see, making the name much larger so that folks can see. Ask the question, What is the name of the doctor? What is the name of the nurse? Who told you this? And I can tell you, 99 out of 100 times, they are unable to articulate which doctor said what, but it's always the doctor. So you can imagine how many doctors a patient will see. So I try to educate people. Write down the name or ask that person to write their name down. And always, this is a new learning point, write your questions down for the rounds. They come on rounds. Keep a pencil, a piece of paper, or a pen at your bedside and write down your 2 or 3 questions that you are uncertain of and that you need an answer to. These 2 simple acts will help tremendously. First of all, it's going to stop that busy run in and out caretaker to spend some time and address your concerns.
And I just want to echo your sentiment, because when I used to see patients, patients can be very anxious, and they see you and everything that they think they want to ask goes out the window.
Yes.
So having that list of questions really, is a great asset. I do it when I go to the doctor. I do it.
Absolutely.
When I take my children to the pediatrician, they've come to know, they come to expect. What's your list of questions before you go? Because I always have a list, right?
Yes.
Because I know that I will go in there, I might get flustered, I might get anxious. One thing might take more time, and I forget, other important questions I had. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you brought to that point.
Yeah, and the third point is that almost everybody has one of these, a cell phone.
Right.
Line up your medication somewhere and take a picture of them.
And we're going to get
in
to
your
that.
phone. It's readily accessible for reference when you come in. And because I know you use a cell phone for taking a lot of pictures, let one of the photos in your phone be your medications.
I'm glad you mentioned that, CEO. We're going to come
Well,
back to that.
Yeah.
We're going to come back to that because it's. I know it's a pet peeve of yours, especially knowing that we have a medication delivery service
Yes.
to help our patients or hospital friends out there. We're going to take a quick break. The Pulse Radio Show brought to you compliments Med-Safe Medical Supplies Ltd.
For all your medical supply needs, visit Med-Safe Medical Supplies Ltd. We offer a wide range of products including wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches, blood pressure machines, stethoscopes, and so much more. Conveniently located on Gemmett's Lane, just a 2-minute walk from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And for your convenience, we deliver free to the QEH. Open Monday to Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Call us at 624-7542. Med-Safe Medical Supplies Ltd. Your trusted source for medical essentials.
Back with you on the show here with Dr. Christine Greenidge, our Acting Chief Executive Officer, Lorin Brathwaite, and Dr. Ayja Clarke, our Service Improvement Managers. And we were just getting into something that we would have mentioned on the show in previous seasons as far as medication is concerned. We know that people like to come to the hospital. Some people like to come to the hospital to spend time with their peers, and they may wait in these long lines for their prescriptions to be filled. But always remember that you have an option in our medication delivery service. You can contact that medication delivery service at 536-4804 Monday to Friday between 9 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon to place your order. And when making your request, you can provide a few details for us: your name, your Barbados ID number, your hospital number, preferred delivery address, 2 current contact numbers, and the name of your medication or medications that you have been prescribed by your physician. This is so important for us because it not only makes it easier for you, you just have that delivered to wherever you are, whether it be at home or your workplace. And we generally want you to call us 5 days before your medication runs out. Don't call after the medication runs out. That is a recipe for coming to the accident and emergency department when some of you, and this is just an example, are unable to manage your chronic conditions because you don't have your medication to do just that.
Yes, and you will find that, especially our patients who are hypertensive, high blood pressure, they find their way into the A&E, and as part of the triage, they will tell you, I ran out of my medication. Right? When? 3 days ago. And I'm here now with the blood pressure absolutely very, very high, some to the point where they can even have a stroke. So the medication delivery service is such a wonderful concept. I mean, the thought of being at ease, not coming into our outpatient pharmacy and being part of this long, long list. But I was thinking about it over the course of several weeks, and it just came to me in terms of how we can even improve that process. I've discussed it with Dr. Corey Ford, who is in charge of pharmacy. I'm not at liberty to share what it is, but it's a resorting in terms of the number of patients coming there. And I recognize this. What I've come to recognize is that for many patients waiting in outpatient pharmacy, it's a source of socialization. Many of them are elderly, some of them live alone, and they don't mind. They told me, I don't mind waiting because it's a source of socialization. But at the same time, for some who has to really traverse very, very far from distant places, public transportation, it can be very exhausting as well. So I got to be transparent in that there's a minimum fee. There's a $10 fee that has to go for part of the transportation, but I really don't know why folks are not taking more advantage of this system. Please do. If you're in charge of grandma or grandpa, it's well worth the $10 to ensure that he or she, that they're receiving their medication on time and there's no opportunity for them to miss their dosage.
And from a health education standpoint, I think it's really important to remember the importance of taking your medication every single day. Anything the doctor prescribes for you is for a reason, and if you're supposed to take it as prescribed. And also to reiterate what you said, you also need to take into consideration holidays and weekends. So if a weekend is coming up or it's a long weekend, that 3 days that Dr. Greenidge was saying that you would hear in triage, that usually coincides with a weekend.
Yes.
So you recognize on, Friday evening that I have no medication for over the weekend. Another thing you will commonly hear from persons is that I'm coming to you next week, so I decided just to wait. Your medication is every day. You're not supposed to be going without it even for one day. And I think this is one of the greatest initiatives that the hospital currently has,
Absolutely.
which is the medication delivery service.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need to meet the people where they're at. And I know everyone has a busy schedule now, so it is easier in some cases and more affordable, I might add, to pay that $10 instead of 4 bus fares in some cases. And you can do the maths. Somehow I'm not good at maths anymore. I don't know how that happened. But you do the maths and you see it definitely amounts to more than $10 and exerting yourself to make your way down to the hospital when you can simply have these things come directly to your door. I want to give everyone an opportunity to offer some final thoughts and share some final thoughts in terms of what we're doing as service improvement managers under the directorate of the Chief Operations Officer, and understanding that all is an effort to try to improve what we do. What would you say is that one thing that you want the public to take away from what you are doing in your role as Service Improvement Manager, how it helps them directly?
What I'd like to say and remind everyone is that we care. Is that we care that the staff and the management at QAH care, and we are very invested in building and moving towards people-centered care systems that empower the patient, just as Dr. Greenidge said a bit earlier, provide you with more information, help you make better decisions, optimize things just with the medication delivery, that make things easier for you and help you understand the process a lot better, right? And it is a task, but we are willing to work on it, and we are working on it.
Yeah, I've seen your team being very busy, interacting with our staff. As you mentioned before, just helping them to understand a new way of doing things, because that's really what it amounts to. Dr. Clarke, for you, what are some of those key things that you want our listeners and our patients to understand about what you do as service improvement manager, helping them to go through the process of receiving better care at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital?
I think a central theme to what we do is really support. Our role is really to support the staff, and doing what they already do so well, doing it even better, delivering care even better to our patients. Everything, as Mr. Brathwaite said, really centers around the patient, so delivering better care to them, making sure they're satisfied with their care, making sure they're empowered to make the correct decisions for themselves, making sure they have all the information. Also, we support the staff in communicating with the patient better to make sure that they're well informed. So I think really the central theme is support. We are here to support the staff, to work with them, identify challenges, come up with feasible solutions that can actually, work in our current setting, and work with them to make sure that they can be implemented and that they're actually sustainable going forward. Because our aim is to, make long-lasting change for this hospital.
Support definitely is something that is needed across the board, and we are so glad to have you as a team supporting our staff to make better the work that they do at our hospital. CEO, acting COO, of course, that is where your charge lies as far as these service improvement managers are concerned. You must be happy so far.
Oh, I'm very pleased.
At where we are going.
They're superstars.
Indeed.
Absolutely. I'm very pleased with them and their focus.
So what next for them in their role as service? What do you see? What's the vision going forward over the short, medium, long term?
I want quality to become infectious, right? Within the system.
Mm-hmm.
I want our staff to be aware of desired outcomes. And I want our staff to understand that we are here to help them achieve their best.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the bottom line, achieving their best means that our patients would be well taken care of. I want our staff sometimes to pause, look within their departments for opportunity of improvement. And quality is not easy, but quality has to be at the forefront of every department in terms of living up to the standards expected in care, right? So whether it is standardized work, you've proven that if you do this way, you're going to get desirable outcomes. I want staff to be engaged in speaking up. Very important. If you don't send that message that they can be comfortable and that there's no finger pointing in speaking up of processes that require improvement. And I want staff to be dedicated and give me 8 hours of solid work every day towards getting to where we need to be.
Yes, and you'll definitely get it.
And we have staff that do that every single day. And I think especially that I'm really zoning in, but the A&E is one department that 24 hours, they don't get to choose who come into the front door because they must accept everybody who is knocking on that door to be triage. They can't be selective. So whatever comes their way, they have to deal with, and they deal with it, I would say, over 90% of the time, based on resources, based on what's coming in. And the last couple of months has been very, very challenging, as our community is changing, and there, some violent activities. They come into that front door. My staff there receive them. Many times, my staff are traumatized by some of the elements that they encounter, and therefore, I'm asking for understanding. For the staff who endure this every single day, who I think we don't talk much about, but I'm concerned for them and their safety. And yet they go out, they face these elements, and they do the best that they can.
Yeah, our security team is doing a great job making sure that as there are lockdowns at the hospital, when we have some of those trauma cases coming in from violent incidents, that not only the patients but our staff feel safe in our accident and emergency department and at our hospital. I really want to thank all of you for coming and sharing your stories today, stories of improvement, service improvement, and stories of success to come at our hospital. On behalf of the team, I'm Shane Seeley signing off for another edition of the Pulse Radio Show. We're looking forward to seeing you next week, where we'll have another edition looking at another directorate and explaining to you how we are improving the service delivery at our hospital. See you then.
This is the first time.
The Pulse Radio Show brought to you with the kind compliments of Med-Safe Medical Supplies.
For all your medical supply needs, visit Med-Safe Medical Supplies Ltd. We offer a wide range of products including wheelchairs, walkers, canes, crutches, blood pressure machines, stethoscopes, and so much more. Conveniently located on Gemmett's Lane, just a 2-minute walk from the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And for your convenience, we deliver free to the QEH. Open Monday to Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. Call us at 624-7542. Med-Safe Medical Supplies Ltd. Your trusted source for medical essentials.